worst sound in Vietnam wasn't gunfire, wasn't mortars or rockets or even the screaming. The worst sound was the silence on the radio after you called a Firebase and nobody answered. That's how I knew Ripcord was dying. Captain David Walsh, 101st Airborne Division, 158th Aviation Battalion. Helicopter pilot. Huey Medevac Birds. Call sign Dustoff 2-3. I flew wounded out of Firebase Ripcord during its last days in July 1970. Flew in when nobody else would. Flew out with more bodies than living men. Flew out the last time, knowing we were abandoning boys who couldn't walk, couldn't fight, couldn't do anything but wait for the NVA to overrun them. I'm from Boston, South Boston, Irish Catholic family, 5 brothers. My old man was a firefighter, wanted me to follow him into the department. Good city job, pension, respect. But I wanted to fly. Always did. Used to watch planes at Logan Airport as a kid, imagining what it felt like to be up there. Got my draft notice in 1968. Instead of waiting to be infantry, I volunteered for flight school. Army was desperate for pilots. The meat grinder in Vietnam was chewing through them fast. They'd take anyone who could pass the physical and the aptitude test. Fort Rucker, Alabama. 6 months of flight training. Started on OH-23s, moved up to Hueys. The UH-1 Iroquois, that beautiful, terrifying machine that became the sound of Vietnam. Whop, whop, whop of the rotors. You could hear them for miles. To Americans, that sound meant hope, meant extraction, meant going home. To the NVA, it meant targets. They taught us everything. Takeoffs, landings, navigation, formation flying, emergency procedures. What they didn't teach us, what they couldn't teach us, was what it felt like to land on a hilltop being shelled, with wounded men crawling toward your bird, with NVA mortars walking toward you, with seconds to load and go before everyone dies. You learn that in Vietnam, or you don't learn it and you die. I got to Vietnam in December '69. Assigned to the 101, stationed out of Camp Eagle near Hue. Started flying medevac missions immediately. Dust-off birds, medical evacuation helicopters, Red Cross painted on the nose. Supposed to make us non-combatants, protected under Geneva Convention. The NVA didn't care about Geneva. Red Cross just made us easier to aim at. My crew was good. Chief Warrant Officer Martinez was my co-pilot. California kid, cool under pressure, flew smooth. Specialist Jackson was crew chief, handled the hoist and managed the bird systems. And Corporal Thompson was our medic, barely 20 years old, but could do triage and treatment better than doctors I'd seen. We flew together for 7 months before Ripcord, pulled wounded out of LZs all over Icor, Ashau Valley, Hamburger Hill, places that chewed up infantrymen and spat out bodies. We'd go in hot, load up, and haul ass before the NVA could shoot us down. Lost a lot of birds, lost a lot of crews. Medevac had the highest casualty rate of any aviation mission in Vietnam. But somebody had to do it. Somebody had to go get those boys when they were bleeding out in the jungle. Firebase Ripcord was supposed to be routine. Another hilltop firebase in the A Shau Valley, overlooking infiltration routes. We'd been pulling wounded out of there since March. Standard stuff. Casualties from patrols, occasional mortar attacks, guys who stepped on mines. Then July happened, and Ripcord went from routine to hell. Firebase. Ripcord sat on top of a hill at 3,000 feet. Tiny patch of cleared ground, maybe 300 yards across. Artillery pieces, bunkers, observation posts, about 400 men. Surrounded on all sides by triple canopy jungle and mountains held by the NVA. By early July, intelligence knew the North Vietnamese were massing forces around Ripcord. 2 regiments, maybe more. Thousands of soldiers moving into position. They had the firebase zeroed, knew every gun emplacement, every bunker, every landing zone. They started hitting it hard on July 1st, not probing attacks, full-scale assaults, mortars, rockets, recoilless rifles. They'd shell the Firebase for hours, then send sappers and infantry up the hill. The boys on Ripcord would beat them back, call in artillery and air support, hold on by their fingernails. Then it would start again the next day. We started flying missions there July 2nd. Multiple birds, multiple trips, pulling out wounded as fast as they could load them. The landing zone was small, one bird at a time. Everybody else had to orbit and wait their turn. And the whole time you're circling, NVA gunners are tracking you, waiting for you to come into range. First mission, we went in at dawn. Approach from the east, drop fast, land quick. I could see the Firebase as we descended, pockmarked with craters, bunkers half collapsed, smoke rising from fires that never got put out. The landing zone was marked with smoke grenades. I put us down. Martinez calling out instruments, Jackson and Thompson already moving to help load wounded. They brought the casualties running. Stretchers, walking wounded, guys helping buddies who couldn't walk. Blast injuries, shrapnel wounds, one kid with his arm blown off at the elbow, tourniquet already applied but bleeding through. Thompson was triaging in seconds. This one first, this one second, this one can wait. Cold calculations. Who might live? Who wouldn't make it anyway? We loaded 6 wounded. Maximum capacity. The bird was heavy, wallowing. I pulled pitch and we lifted off, rotors straining, the Firebase dropping away below us. That's when the mortars came in. Saw the flashes on the ridgeline to the north. Martinez saw them too. Incoming. Incoming on the LZ exclamation mark. The first round hit right where we'd been parked 30 seconds ago. The blast threw debris into the air. If we'd been delayed by 30 seconds loading one more wounded, we'd all be dead. Dust off 2-3 Ripcord. Thanks for the extract. We've got more when you can come back. More. Always more. The wounded kept piling up faster than we could pull them out. We made 4 trips that day. Pulled out 23 wounded. Lost count of the close calls. Near misses from mortars. Tracers passing through our rotor disc. Landing in the middle of incoming fire because the wounded couldn't wait. On the 4th trip, I watched another medevac bird take hits on approach. A K-47 fire from the tree line, stitching holes across the tail boom. The pilot fought it, almost made it, but the tail rotor failed. The Huey spun, crashed on the edge of the LZ, burst into flames. Jackson and some grunts pulled the crew out. 2 dead, 2 wounded. We loaded them onto our bird along with other casualties and got out. That was July 2nd, day 2 of what would become a 3-week nightmare. The siege got worse. Every day, more NVA, more mortars, more rockets, more assaults. Firebase Ripcord was dying. Everyone knew it. The question was whether we'd evacuate before the NVA overran it, or whether 400 Americans would die on that hilltop. Command kept saying reinforcements were coming. Keep holding, keep fighting. Just a few more days. But the wounded kept piling up, and we kept flying in to get them. July 18th. I remember that date because that's when I started understanding what we were really doing. We weren't rescuing wounded. We were choosing who got to live and who got to die. We came in for an extraction around 1400 hours. The Firebase was getting hammered, rockets hitting every few minutes, sending up geysers of dirt and sandbags. The command bunker had taken a direct hit that morning. Half the artillery pieces were destroyed. The perimeter was shrinking. We landed in a crater. The designated LZ was too torn up. Guys were bringing wounded across open ground, taking fire the whole way. I could see NVA soldiers in the tree line, maybe 200 meters away. They were that close. That's how bad it had gotten. Thompson was doing triage. We had capacity for 6. There were 15 wounded waiting. This one, Thompson was pointing, making the call. Life or death decided in seconds based on who might survive the flight to the hospital. A kid, couldn't have been 19, grabbed Thompson's arm. He'd been shot through the lung, sucking chest wound. Thompson had already tagged him as can wait. But the kid knew what that meant. Please, he was saying, please don't leave me here. Please. Thompson looked at me. I looked at the kid, looked at the other wounded, looked at the mortars still falling. We were at max weight already. Taking one more could compromise the bird, could kill everyone. I'm sorry, Thompson said, not to me, to the kid. Next bird, I promise. We lifted off. Left 9 wounded on that LZ, including the kid with the chest wound. We never got back for them. The LZ took a direct hit an hour later, collapsed part of the perimeter. By the time another bird could get in, those 9 were dead. I flew 4 more missions that day. Each time Thompson had to choose. Each time we left wounded behind. Each time I told myself they'd get picked up by the next bird. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. July 19th, we lost Martinez. Took hits on approach. 12.7 millimeters from the ridgeline, punched right through the cockpit. Hit Martinez in the chest. He slumped forward on the controls. I fought the bird, kept it flying, but he was already gone. Jackson pulled him back, tried CPR. Useless. The round had torn through his heart. He died instantly. We landed, loaded, wounded, took off. Martinez still strapped in his seat, dead, blood everywhere. Thompson worked on the casualties in back while Jackson and I flew the mission. We couldn't stop. There were still wounded on Ripcord, still boys dying who needed us. Martinez's body rode with us for 3 more missions before we finally got relieved and could take him to Graves registration. They gave me a new co-pilot, Chief Warrant Officer named Peterson. Fresh from the States, maybe 20 missions under his belt. Good kid, capable, but green. Didn't have Martinez's instincts, his cool head, his ability to know what I needed before I asked. But we didn't have a choice. The wounded kept coming. The missions kept running. You flew with whoever they put in the right seat. By July 20th, Ripcord was hell on earth. The perimeter had shrunk to maybe 200 yards. Half the bunkers were destroyed. The artillery pieces were knocked out one by one. The NVA had the entire Firebase under observation. They knew exactly when birds were coming in, exactly where we'd land. We started taking fire on every approach. Not just small arms, heavy machine guns, RPGs, even anti-aircraft guns the NVA had dragged through the jungle. They wanted us to stop coming, wanted to isolate Ripcord, let the wounded pile up, break the defenders' will. We kept coming anyway. I lost count of the missions. 40, 50. The days blurred together. Land, load, take off, get shot at, have rounds punch through the fuselage, watch other birds get hit, watch them crash, watch crews die. Land again, load again, do it all again. The wounded changed. Early in the siege, it was combat injuries, gunshot wounds, shrapnel, blast trauma. By the end, it was everything. Guys with 1,000-yard stares who couldn't function anymore. Guys who'd been on that hill for 3 weeks under constant bombardment, watching friends die, knowing they were next. Combat fatigue, shell shock. However you want to label it, they were broken. Thompson treated them the same as the physical wounded. Got them on the bird, got them out. Nobody judged. We'd all seen what Ripcord did to people. July 21st, they started talking about abandoning the Firebase. Command finally admitted what everyone already knew. Ripcord couldn't hold. The NVA had too many troops, too much firepower, too much determination. We were going to evacuate before they overran us. But evacuating 400 men from a hilltop under siege, that's not a quick operation. That's hours of helicopter flights, dozens of birds, hundreds of trips, all while taking fire, all while the NVA tried to shoot down every aircraft. They started pulling out the artillery pieces first, then the command staff, then the able-bodied troops. The wounded went early, those who could be moved, but some couldn't be moved. Too critical, too unstable. Moving them meant killing them. Those guys had to wait until the end, until the last possible moment, until maybe it was too late. I flew 12 missions on July 23rd, the last day. In and out, pulling people off that dying Firebase. The NVA knew we were evacuating. They poured fire onto Ripcord like nothing I'd seen. Rockets, mortars, direct fire from recoilless rifles. The LZ was a moonscape. Birds were getting hit left and right. I watched a Chinook take an RPG, go down hard, flip over. Crew killed. The troops they were carrying, some killed, some wounded, now trapped on a Firebase being overrun. We couldn't stop. We couldn't slow down. We just kept flying. The last mission, late afternoon, July 23rd. Command said everyone was off Ripcord. The Firebase was abandoned. The NVA could have it. Then the radio crackled. Any dust off, any dust off. This is Ripcord. We still have wounded. I say again, we still have wounded. Need immediate extraction. Silence. All the other birds had already pulled back to base. Too dangerous. Firebase was being overrun. NVA were probably already on the perimeter. I looked at Peterson. He looked at me. Jackson and Thompson in back, listening. We were all thinking the same thing. Going back was suicide. The NVA owned that hilltop now. We'd be landing in the middle of enemy forces to pick up wounded who'd been left behind. Ripcord, dust off 2 to 3. How many wounded? Dust off, we've got 4. Can't walk. Can't be moved without help. We've held them as long as we can, but we're pulling out now. If you can't get them, they're going to be captured. Captured by the NVA meant torture. Meant dying slowly in a jungle prison camp. Meant never going home. Ripcord, dust off 2-3. We're coming. Negative, dust off. Too hot. You'll never make it. Ripcord, we're coming. Pop smoke. I turned the Huey back toward Ripcord. Peterson was pale but steady. You sure about this, sir? No, I said. But we're doing it anyway. The approach was the worst of my life. I could see NVA soldiers on the Firebase perimeter. Could see muzzle flashes from all sides. Tracers reaching up for us. RPGs launching from the tree line. We came in fast and low. The smoke grenade marked the LZ, or what was left of it. The area was cratered, littered with debris, fires burning everywhere. I put us down. The skids hit, and immediately we were taking fire. Rounds slamming into the fuselage. The windscreen starred from an impact. Peterson flinched but stayed on the controls. Jackson and Thompson bailed out, running for the bunker where the wounded were. I could see a handful of grunts still fighting, covering the evacuation, buying us seconds. Mortars started falling. Close, getting closer, walking toward us. Come on, I was muttering. Hands on the collective, ready to pull pitch the second everyone was aboard. Jackson and Thompson came running back, carrying stretchers. 2 wounded, both unconscious. Loaded them. Went back for the other 2. A mortar hit 30 feet away. Shrapnel tore through the tail boom. Warning lights lit up. The bird shuddered. We need to go, Peterson was yelling. We need to go now. Not without them. Jackson and Thompson were coming back with the last 2 wounded, running through mortar fire, through bullets, through hell. They threw the wounded onto the bird. Jackson jumped in. Thompson was climbing in when the round hit him. .51 caliber caught him in the back, blew out through his chest. He fell, half in the bird, half out. Jackson grabbed him, tried to pull him in. Go, go, Jackson was screaming. I pulled pitch. The Huey lifted, Thompson's body sliding, Jackson holding on. We cleared the LZ, tail rotor barely functioning, warning lights screaming, NVA fire chasing us down the mountain. We made it back. Don't know how. The bird should have crashed, should have fallen apart, but we made it. Thompson died somewhere over the valley. Jackson held him the whole way. Held him and cried and kept pressure on a wound that didn't matter because Thompson was already gone. We saved 4 wounded from Ripcord. Lost Thompson to do it. I still don't know if it was worth it. Firebase Ripcord fell on July 23rd, 1970. Command called it a tactical withdrawal, said we'd denied the area to the enemy, inflicted heavy casualties, accomplished our mission. The Pentagon issued statements about strategic success. The boys who were there knew better. We got our asses kicked, lost a firebase, lost hundreds of men dead and wounded, lost birds, lost crews, lost for 3 weeks straight until we finally gave up and ran. But we got most of them out. Most of the wounded made it off that hilltop. That's what we told ourselves. That's what mattered. I stayed in Vietnam until December. Flew medevac missions all over I Corps. Every mission felt the same after Ripcord. Every LZ was hot. Every approach was death. Every wounded man was Thompson dying in the back of my bird. I stopped sleeping. When I did sleep, I dreamed about Ripcord, about landing on that LZ with mortars falling, about leaving wounded behind because we couldn't carry them all, about that kid with the chest wound begging us not to leave him, about Martinez slumping forward dead in the co-pilot's seat, about Thompson getting shot while climbing into the bird. I started drinking, not on duty, never on duty, not when lives depended on me. But every night, trying to drown the memories, trying to silence the radio calls from wounded who needed extraction. Any dust-off, we need help. I still hear those calls. 25 years gone, and I still hear them. I came home in January 1971. No parade, no welcome. Just landed at Travis Air Force Base, processed out. And suddenly I was civilian again. Like the last year hadn't happened. Like Vietnam was something I could just leave behind. The Army offered me a promotion to stay in. I declined. Couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't fly missions. Couldn't make those choices about who to save and who to leave behind. I tried flying civilian helicopters. Lasted 6 months. Every time I took off, I was back in Vietnam. Every engine sound was mortar fire. Every landing was an LZ under fire. I couldn't do it. I haven't flown since 1972. Can't even ride in helicopters as a passenger. The sound of rotors puts me right back in the Huey, Martinez dead beside me, Thompson bleeding out in back, wounded men screaming. I got married, had kids, built a life or something that looks like one. Work construction now, ground level work. Can't handle heights anymore. Can't handle the feeling of being in the air where bullets can find you. My family doesn't understand. How could they? How do you explain what it's like to land on a firebase being overrun? To choose which wounded men get to live? To watch your crew die while you keep flying the mission? You don't explain. You just live with it. Or try to. I'm 47 years old. My hands shake. I can't sleep without pills. I can't hear helicopters without panic attacks. Can't watch war movies. Can't even watch the news when they show footage from Vietnam. The VA calls it PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Clinical diagnosis, treatment available, pills and therapy and support groups. None of it works. How do you treat memories that won't fade? How do you therapy away the guilt of leaving wounded behind? How do you support group your way past watching your friends die? You don't. You just survive, day by day, hour by hour, carrying the weight of everyone you saved and everyone you couldn't. Sometimes people thank me for my service, call me a hero, say I saved lives. I did save lives, hundreds of them probably, pulled wounded out of LZs all over Vietnam, risked my life, risked my crew, because those boys deserved a chance. But I couldn't save them all. Couldn't save the ones we left behind because we were at max weight. Couldn't save Martinez. Couldn't save Thompson. And the ones I did save, what kind of lives did they go back to? How many of them are like me, broken and haunted, unable to sleep, unable to forget? Did I save them or just delay their suffering? I don't know. I'll never know. Firebase Ripcord lasted 23 days. I flew maybe 60 missions in and out of that hell. Pulled out over 200 wounded. Lost 2 crew members. Nearly died a dozen times. 25 years later, I'm still flying those missions. Still landing on that LZ. Still hearing the radio calls for help. Still choosing who lives and who dies. Still watching Thompson get shot. Still seeing Martinez slump forward dead. Still flying. And the worst sound in Vietnam wasn't gunfire. It was the silence on the radio after you called a firebase and nobody answered. But I was wrong. The worst sound is the silence now. The silence of all the voices that stopped calling. Martinez, Thompson, the kid with the chest wound, all the wounded who didn't make it. They're silent now, but I still hear them. I'll always hear them. Still flying those missions, still trying to save them, still failing. Still up there in the Huey, rotors beating the air, incoming fire all around, wounded bleeding in back. Still haven't landed, don't think I ever will.